California Governor Gavin Newsom sparked controversy after declaring he would jail President Donald Trump and Vice President JD Vance if he won the 2028 election. But what happened next caught Newsom off guard, as Trump delivered a sharp response that shifted the conversation overnight. The clash set social media and news outlets ablaze. A Yahoo YouGov poll reported Newsom leading the 2028 race, showing him at 49% support, while Vice President Vance trailed at 41%. For many, it seemed like a turning point. Democrats celebrated online, some acting as though victory was certain. Yet in Washington, questions spread. Could the poll really be trusted? The timing felt too precise, the numbers too convenient. Then came the moment that fueled the uproar. With confidence, Newsom stood before cameras and declared, "On day one, when I become president, I will jail Donald Trump and JD Vance." The room fell silent. It wasn't just bold, it was reckless. For many Americans, this crossed a line. Trump supporters felt alarmed. Families at home were stunned, some in tears, worried their president and vice president were being unfairly targeted. Trump, however, stayed silent. That quiet only built anticipation. Everyone asked the same question. When he speaks, what will he say? As evening came, Newsom turned to social media. Post after post went up mocking Trump as finished and belittling Vance as a boy playing politics. He even hinted at Trump's health in cruel terms. Outrage spread quickly. How can a leader wish harm on another American? One grandmother in Ohio asked through tears. Newsom's supporters amplified the mockery with memes and jokes. But criticism also grew louder. Some Californians pointed to his struggles at home: homelessness, wildfires, broken promises. Still, Democrats circulated the poll as proof of momentum, framing Newsom as the future and Trump as the past. Yet, across the country, people waited. They knew Trump's silence wasn't weakness, it was build-up. By morning, Washington buzzed with a single question: when will Trump respond? Crowds gathered outside the White House with banners reading, "Hands off our president." Veterans wept openly, shocked a governor would threaten imprisonment for a sitting president. Inside, Trump and Vance prepared quietly, resisting pressure to hit back immediately. "Not yet," Trump said. "The truth needs its moment." By afternoon, the nation was on edge. News alerts announced Trump would address the country that night. Families gathered in their living rooms, supporters prayed, and even critics tuned in, knowing Trump's words would matter. Meanwhile, Newsom carried on confidently in California, celebrating his poll lead with allies. But behind closed doors, some Democrats worried he had gone too far. He doubled down on social media, writing, "Trump belongs in a cell, Vance too." For Trump supporters, the words cut deeply. Many mothers wept, fearful of what such threats meant for the future. Before Trump spoke, Vice President Vance appeared unexpectedly. With calm conviction, he told reporters, "Governor Newsom believes politics is about threats and insults. But you don't jail leaders for serving their country. You don't mock citizens for defending what's right." His words resonated nationwide. Families nodded in agreement. To many, Vance appeared as more than a politician. He was a partner, standing guard alongside Trump. Vance continued, highlighting California's challenges. While families suffer in tent cities and wildfires destroy homes, Governor Newsom smiles on TV and posts online jokes, and now he claims he'll jail America's president. Gasps filled the press room. His speech was brief but impactful, planting doubts about Newsom's credibility. Then came Trump. Walking calmly to the podium, he opened, "Good evening, my fellow Americans. You've heard Gavin Newsom's threats. You've seen the polls. You've read the lies. Tonight, I will tell you the truth." The room grew tense. "Newsom believes this country belongs to elites," Trump said. "He thinks fear and threats will control us. But America does not belong to him. It belongs to you, the hard-working men and women of this nation. Supporters outside the White House roared. Some watching at home cried at his words. Then, Trump raised a folder, placing it firmly on the podium. "This," he said, "is proof of Gavin Newsom's hidden dealings." Reporters leaned forward as Trump explained. While his administration deported criminals, Newsom had worked with groups bringing them in, not to help, but to create disorder. The revelation stunned audiences. Trump linked the violence in California, attacks on facilities, vandalism, and arson, to Newsom claiming his involvement was undeniable. Chaos broke out in the press room, while Americans at home reacted with shock and anger. Online, hashtags like Newsom exposed and Stand with Trump trended. In California, protests erupted, some demanding Newsom's resignation, others defending him fiercely. Police scrambled as tensions grew. At the White House gates, crowds gathered in prayer and solidarity, moved that Trump had chosen to reveal what they saw as the truth. Meanwhile, in his mansion, Newsom scrolled his phone, furious as his reputation unraveled in real time. Newsom's aides rushed to calm him, but their expressions revealed the truth. They were losing control of the narrative, and Trump wasn't finished. Americans knew this was only the start of something larger. After Trump's powerful remarks, Vice President JD Vance stepped forward again. His tone was steady, but his eyes carried intensity. "Governor Newsom calls us names and jokes about jailing us, but here's the reality. He's the one who should be investigated." He raised a set of documents. Millions intended for California's high-speed rail project vanished under his leadership. Funds meant to rebuild homes destroyed by fires in Los Angeles, gone. Where did it go? Into his pockets and those of his allies. Gasps swept the press room. Reporters scrambled to take notes. Across America, families sat in disbelief. Many who once trusted California's promises felt betrayed. Vance's voice grew heavier. While families mourned lost homes, while children slept in shelters, Gavin Newsom and his friends celebrated with stolen money. And now he claims he'll jail us? Viewers at home wept, anger and heartbreak spreading nationwide. Trump placed a hand on Vance's shoulder in solidarity. Their unity was unmistakable. Then Trump leaned into the microphone, his voice firm. "Newsom doesn't despise me because of politics. He despises me because I exposed his schemes." He held up another paper from his folder. "For months, networks have been smuggling criminals into our communities. Who signed off on it? Gavin Newsom. He didn't just allow it, he planned it." Gasps filled the room. Families watching felt chills. These weren't just accusations, they were revelations. Trump pressed further. Newsom wanted chaos. He wanted crime. He wanted destruction so he could point to me and say, "Look, Trump has failed." But in truth, it was his hand driving the disorder. Mothers who had lost children to violence broke down in tears. Veterans clenched their fists. Trump's voice softened. "I promise to protect this nation. I will never let anyone, governor or otherwise, endanger your safety." Outside, chants of "USA, USA" filled the air. Suddenly, Newsom's name no longer carried strength. It carried shame. In California, reactions came swiftly. Ordinary citizens who had long ignored politics found themselves outraged. Videos spread online. Mothers crying, fathers pacing in frustration, young people demanding accountability. One San Francisco man went viral confessing, "I voted for Newsom, but now I see he lied. He betrayed us. My brother was killed in gang violence, and now I know the truth." Meanwhile, Sacramento was in chaos. Phones rang non-stop as reporters demanded answers. Advisors whispered in panic, recognizing their control was crumbling. But Newsom refused to yield. He fired off another social media post. "Trump is lying. Don't fall for his circus." The replies told a different story. Thousands flooded the comments with anger and disbelief. For the first time, Newsom's trademark confidence looked weak. The man who had mocked Trump the day before now seemed cornered, struggling to survive. That night, Trump delivered the line that shook Washington. "Governor Newsom talks about jailing me and JD Vance. But let me remind America, this is the same man whose state leads the nation in homelessness, drug overdoses, and unemployment. That is not leadership. That is failure." The room froze. Then Trump leaned in, his voice low but piercing. "Newsom isn't running for president of the United States. He's running from his own record." The impact was immediate. Reporters gasped. Viewers at home wept, some out of sadness, others out of pride. They saw a leader willing to defend the truth. They saw unity as Trump and Vance stood side by side, an image of resolve. Inside Washington, whispers spread quickly. Lawmakers and even some Democrats exchanged uneasy looks. Trump's claims weren't vague. They were detailed and precise. Cable networks split. One side defended Newsom, while others admitted that if even part of Trump's claims proved true, Newsom was in serious jeopardy. In California, Newsom dismissed the speech publicly as theatrics, flashing his usual grin. But in private, his anger boiled. He slammed his desk, furious that the narrative had shifted so quickly. Ordinary citizens weren't listening to excuses anymore. Online, families shared their struggles. Homelessness in San Francisco, inadequate. Fire relief, rising crime in Los Angeles. For the first time, Newsom wasn't just battling Trump. He was facing the voices of the very people he had failed. Across the country, Americans connected with Trump's words on a personal level. A mother in Ohio sat with her children whispering, through tears, "President Trump is the only one telling us the truth." In Texas, veterans gathered at a diner, silent and emotional. One finally said, "He's fighting for us like he always has. That's why they fear him." Online, emotion poured out. Hashtags like Talker Trump Truth and We Cry with Trump trended. Thousands of comments read, "This speech made me cry. I feel seen." The weight was undeniable. Trump had shifted the fight from politics to humanity. Meanwhile, in Sacramento, panic deepened. Donors demanded answers. Friendly journalists pressed for proof. For the first time, Newsom hesitated before stepping in front of cameras, realizing every word would be dissected and doubted. Trump, meanwhile, prepared the next strike. His team compiled more records, receipts, witness statements, links between Newsom's allies and violent groups. At the White House, determination grew. Vance told staff, "We're not just fighting for ourselves, we're fighting for every American who has been lied to." That evening, millions tuned in once again. Newsom sat restless in his mansion, scrolling through furious comments. His phone buzzed with warnings from allies. "He's destroying you! Stop him!" But it was too late. The silence from Newsom spoke louder than his words. The next morning, Trump appeared with another stack of documents. He wasted no time. "These are official records," he declared. "They show Gavin Newsom funneled state funds into Shell, companies tied to violent groups. Those groups carried out attacks on ICE buses and government property." The room erupted. Trump pressed on. While families lost their homes to wildfires, while children slept in shelters, Newsom's money went to criminals. The words hit like thunder. Across the country, people sat frozen. In Arizona, a single mother whispered to her son, "Now you know why we lost everything. It wasn't fate, it was betrayal." Trump placed the papers on the podium. "This is why he mocks us. This is why he lashes out. Because he fears the truth." The silence that followed was overwhelming. Headlines exploded. Trump exposes Newsom funding link. Social media erupted. In New York, families lit candles outside churches, praying for the president. In Texas, crowds waved flags and chanted. In California, the mood fractured. Some defended Newsom, but many could no longer excuse him. A grandmother in Michigan went viral with a tearful video. "I lost my grandson to gang violence in California, and now I know it wasn't bad luck. It was betrayal." Millions cried with her. Newsom, however, remained out of sight. Advisors urged silence, but the tide had turned. Online, messages poured in, "Resign, Gavin. You failed us." And still, Trump wasn't finished. That evening, Vice President Vance returned to the cameras. His tone was sharp but heavy with sadness. "Gavin Newsom laughs while Californians struggle. He mocks while veterans sleep on the streets. And worst of all, he steals." Holding up a file, he continued, "Here are contracts tied to the California Rail Project. Billions promised, billions gone. Money that was meant to build homes and create jobs ended up in private accounts tied to the governor's allies." Reporters audibly reacted, some covering their mouths. The evidence wasn't speculation, it was signatures and receipts. Vance's voice cracked slightly as he leaned into the microphone. "To every family that lost a home in the fires, to every worker who believed the rail projects meant real jobs, I am deeply sorry you were deceived. This is what corruption looks like." Across the nation, people cried. It wasn't only from outrage, it was the pain of seeing their futures stolen. In that moment, Newsom's plan to jail Trump and Vance appeared nothing more than a cruel stunt. By morning, the country was unsettled. Videos spread online showing citizens in tears, not from weakness, but from grief and anger. In Pennsylvania, a father stood outside his burned-down house holding his daughter's toy bear. "This is all we had left after the fire. We were promised help, but the money was stolen by the man who wants to be president." His voice broke, and the clip went viral. In Florida, a church congregation gathered to pray for the nation. Elderly women wept, asking God to protect Trump and Vance as they endured what they called a storm of lies and hatred. On television, anchors struggled to keep their panels under control. One admitted on air, if these documents are real, Newsom's campaign might already be finished. Meanwhile, inside the White House, Trump remained composed. "We're not only exposing corruption," he told his team. "We're giving the American people the truth they deserve." Across the country, citizens no longer saw him as just their president. They saw him as their defender. And Gavin Newsom? He went quiet. Too quiet. Inside his Sacramento mansion, he paced restlessly, his phone buzzing nonstop. Party leaders demanded answers. Donors threatened to walk away. Slamming the device down, his voice shook with anger. "He can't do this to me. He just can't." Deep down, he knew the tide had shifted. His aides drafted statements, but Newsom refused them. "I'm not apologizing. I'm not backing down." Yet he provided no proof to challenge Trump's evidence, no facts to calm the growing outrage. Instead, he returned to social media. With trembling hands, he typed, "Trump is desperate. He'll say anything to cling to power. Don't fall for his lies." But replies flooded in instantly. Thousands of Americans fired back with personal stories of loss, betrayal, and disappointment. Words that once energized his base now rang hollow. For the first time, Gavin Newsom wasn't leading the conversation. He was drowning in it. And the nation waited for Trump's next step. That evening, Trump returned to the podium. America had waited all day. He spoke slowly, each word measured. "Gavin Newsom says he'll jail me. He says he'll jail JD Vance. But the truth is, he betrayed the very people he was supposed to protect." He paused, letting silence hang. Millions leaned closer to their screens. "I am not afraid of his threats. I am not afraid of rigged polls. Because America does not belong to politicians. America belongs to you." The crowd outside broke into tears and cheers, families holding one another, some falling to their knees in prayer. Trump lifted his hand. "We will not let corruption win. We will not let lies win. We will fight, not for ourselves, but for the people who believe in this nation." It was more than a speech, it was a pledge. And with those words, the clash between Trump and Newsom became something larger, a fight for the soul of America. The moment Trump's vow ended, the internet erupted. Millions clipped the speech and shared it with captions like, "This is leadership," and "The truth cannot be silenced." TikTok filled with videos of teenagers hugging their parents, whispering, "Trump is standing for us." On Facebook, veterans posted that they hadn't felt this kind of honesty in decades. On YouTube, streams of Trump's remarks shattered records as comments poured in. "I'm crying right now. This man is saving America. We must stand with him." But the most powerful reaction came from everyday families. One viral video showed a odd nurse in tears after a long shift, whispering, "I almost lost my job because of California's broken policies. Now I know why. Thank you, Mr. President, for telling the truth." Newsom's campaign attempted to strike back with short clips mocking Trump, but they were overwhelmed by the tidal wave of raw emotion sweeping the country. The conversation had shifted, and no strategy could take it back. By mid-morning, Gavin Newsom finally appeared before cameras. His face looked pale, his smile forced. "Donald Trump is lying," he began, voice sharp but unsteady. "These documents are fake. This is all a desperate attempt to distract the American people." But as he spoke, protesters gathered outside his Sacramento office. Their chants grew louder than his remarks. "Resign! Resign!" Reporters pressed for details. "Governor, can you prove? The documents are fake? Do you deny the financial records?" His answers faltered. We will release statements soon." The footage aired live, unedited. Americans shook their heads. A farmer in Iowa whispered, "That's not a leader. That's a man caught in his own lies." Newsom's last stand only deepened the damage. His confidence was gone, his words empty. In contrast, Trump's calm determination only grew stronger in the eyes of the public. That night, the country felt different. In homes, diners, and community centers, people gathered, not waiting for polls, but already knowing where their hearts stood. One by one, voices rose across America. In Georgia, a teacher told her students, "This is why truth matters." In Kansas, a truck driver recorded himself saying, "I never cared much for politics, but tonight I'll stand with Trump." Social media feeds became walls of support. Families, praying, spontaneous rallies, hashtags declaring loyalty to the president and his vice president. Even in California, where Newsom once felt untouchable, people began speaking out. A mother of 3, her home lost to wildfires, stood before cameras in tears. "He stole our future. Trump gave us the truth." By sunrise, this was no longer about speeches or documents. It was about trust, and Americans had made their choice. The next morning, the country looked transformed. Streets across dozens of cities filled with peaceful marches. Ordinary people waved flags holding signs that read, "We stand with Trump. Truth over lies." Mothers pushed strollers as they walked. Veterans marched in worn boots. Children waved flags from their fathers' shoulders. These weren't angry mobs. They were grieving citizens united in hope. In Oklahoma, a man carried a photo of his son, killed years earlier in gang violence. Through tears, he said, "Now we know why crime kept growing. Newsom enabled it. Trump is the only one fighting to stop it." On every network, the cameras focused not on politicians or pundits, but on ordinary Americans. For the first time, Newsom's silence wasn't just harmful. It was devastating. His words from the previous day were gone. His confidence vanished. All that remained was the roar of millions choosing truth over lies. The American tide had begun. In Sacramento, Gavin Newsom lost control. He hurled a glass against the wall as his aides froze in shock. "They can't turn on me this fast," he shouted, pacing the room. "It's Trump's circus. It'll fade." But his team knew better. Donors were already pulling back. A fundraiser was canceled. Friendly papers ran headlines asking questions instead of offering support. Can Newsom survive this? Desperation filled his mansion. An aide begged him to apologize, to admit mistakes. But Newsom's pride refused. Apologize? Never. I'll double down. Outside his gates, protesters grew louder. The chants of resign and traitor echoed late into the night, keeping him awake, eating away at his mind. For the first time, Gavin Newsom felt something he had never admitted before. Fear. Not fear of Trump or Vance, but fear of the very people he claimed to lead. That evening, Trump appeared once more, this time at the Oval Office desk. The setting was intimate, quiet, but the weight of his words shook the nation. "My fellow Americans," he began softly, "this is not about politics. This is about the safety of our families. This is about whether truth or corruption will shape our future." He paused, eyes steady on the camera. "Gavin Newsom can threaten me. He can threaten JD Vance. But he cannot threaten the will of the American people." The broadcast cut to images of rallies, prayers, and grieving families. Trump's voice carried over them. "We will not bow to lies. We will not surrender to those who sell out our nation. Together, we will fight. Together, we will win." The nation erupted. Families fell to their knees in living rooms. Veterans saluted their TVs. Children clapped, too young to understand but sensing history. Trump's message was not only a warning, it was a promise. Then, with calm precision, Trump unveiled final evidence. Communications linking Newsom's closest allies to illegal payments, with money trails tied to violent protests in California. Screens across the nation lit up with images of signatures, transfers, and names everyone recognized. It was undeniable. The reaction was immediate. Families who had lost loved ones in the chaos wept openly. A father in Arizona whispered, "Now, we finally know. We weren't abandoned by God. We were betrayed by men." The blow wasn't just to Newsom's career, it was to the false hope he had sold. The illusion collapsed before the entire world. That night, America came together in ways unseen for decades. In churches, bells rang as pews filled with people praying for the nation. In diners and town halls, strangers embraced like family. On sidewalks, children held candles, their voices chanting, "Truth will win." In Los Angeles, where pain had cut deepest, families sobbed openly. A widow whose husband had died in a robbery told reporters, "Trump gave us what Newsom never did: honesty." Her words echoed across the country. JD Vance appeared beside Trump, once again his voice firm. "Governor Newsom tried to divide America, but tonight we are united, not under lies, not under fear, but under truth." The nation roared. Social media feeds filled with tears, prayers, and pledges of loyalty. It was more than politics. It was personal, spiritual, emotional, and Gavin Newsom was powerless before it. The next morning, America awoke with a new resolve. Fake polls were forgotten, empty threats ignored. All that remained was the image of Trump and Vance, shoulder to shoulder, unbroken. Trump closed his message with words that will be remembered. "We will never bow to corruption. We will never kneel to lies. With God's help, we will keep America free, strong, and great." Crowds erupted into cheers and tears. Elderly women clutched flags as they wept. Veterans saluted with wet eyes. Families hugged tighter, whispering, "This is the America we believe in." Even critics admitted the obvious. Gavin Newsom had been defeated, his arrogance replaced by silence, his dream of power gone. The story ended not with anger but with hope. Hope that truth still prevails. Hope that America, no matter how dark the night, will rise again. And now, dear viewers, if this story touched your heart, if it made you proud to stand for truth, don't just watch. Be part of the movement. Hit like, subscribe for more, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Together, we're building more than a channel. Together, we are building a voice for America.